8+1 Prime endeavors to observe prior to getting married. Mess around and mess around with one another. Fabricate a boat for treasure with your first love in your number one twist opening. Your number one games and side interests will help you bond and start your excursion of kinship. It doesn't make any difference the excellent wedding you had, the presents you got, or the sorts of visitors that went to your wedding. It takes something other than a festival to support a marriage association, and there are interesting points prior to getting hitched. Before you get hitched, you should comprehend the responsibility that you are making to your accomplice. A few connections lead to marriage. In any case, prior to wandering into what you will ultimately appreciate or persevere all through your life, a few imperative components of a marriage should be thought of. So assuming you are to be sure worried about what's in store subsequent to getting hitched, this video frames interesting points prior to getting hitched. Man and lady in affection clasping hands when you choose to get hitched and think you have found the one you need to use whatever might remain of your existence with, the choice to get hitched ought not be troublesome. In any case, when you take a gander at relationships with a methodology of reasonableness and sanity, you might understand that imparting your life to another person can mean a ton of changes that should be examined before you choose to make your association official and legitimate. Number 1. Love. Perfectly clear love is one of the essential components required in any type of a relationship. This applies to marriage as well. Investigating your sentiments and being certain about them are the initial, not many activities before marriage. Without you adoring your mate or your companion cherishing you for what your identity is, the marriage isn't probably going to endure, sadly. Before you say, "I do," be certain that you truly love your accomplice, and they love you for what your identity is. Number 2. Responsibility. While adoration can be temporary, responsibility is a guarantee to continue to cherish one another. Responsibility is tied in with remaining by your accomplice's side, regardless of the conditions. It implies going through good times and hard times with your accomplice. In the event that you are not dedicated actually, intellectually, and profoundly to your accomplice, you should re-evaluate your choice to seal the deal. Whether two individuals are focused on one another tops the rundown of things couples ought to discuss before marriage. Number 3. Trust. Man and lady clasping hands and supporting one another. Trust is one of the main components of a fruitful marriage. Trust is the most critical determinant of the well-being and lifespan of a marriage. In the event that couples can do what they endlessly get out whatever they do, they make an air of trust and unwavering quality in knowing their words and activities mean something to their better half. Number 4. Compelling correspondence. How to know one another before marriage. At this point, you ought to realize that compelling correspondence is one of the pivotal components of marriage. A hole in the correspondence construction of a marriage can frequently prompt a bombed relationship. You are in a solid marriage when you can straightforwardly communicate your profound sentiments and try not to cover hurt or outrage. There are different things to be familiar with one another before marriage, and correspondence is an extraordinary device. No accomplice in a relationship ought to have a bashful or meek outlook on conveying their sentiments anytime. Neither of you ought to think again about sharing your necessities, wants, problem areas, and contemplations. Discussing viable correspondence is one of the significant activities prior to getting hitched. Number 5. Persistence and absolution. No one is awesome. Contentions, battles, and conflicts can be normal among couples. Assuming that you discuss successfully with your accomplice, you will actually want to see things according to your accomplice's viewpoint. Persistence and pardoning will continuously stay the fundamental components of a marriage. You want to consider in the event that you and your accomplice have these two ideals for one another, as well concerning your own selves. One should be patient and excusing even with their own self to support an enduring relationship with their companion. Number 6. Closeness. Cheerful white couple in a personal second in the room. One of the significant components of marriage is the closeness that establishes the groundwork for any marriage or heartfelt connection. Closeness isn't simply physical. Being cozy additionally has a close-to-home perspective. All in all, what to be aware before marriage? What or what to realize before union with comprehend your accomplice better and lay out closeness. Talk transparently with your accomplice. For things to discuss before marriage, you can talk about your requirements and wants as the initial step to laying out closeness. Number 7. Regard. Regard is one of the principal components of a decent marriage. Before you choose to seal the deal, it is vital to consider that you and your accomplice have shared regard. Regard is fundamental for a solid marriage as it can assist you with overcoming the difficult stretches, seasons of conflicts, and assist you with checking your accomplice's viewpoint in little or significant choices out. To find out about how couples can wind up disregarding each other without acknowledging it, watch this video. Number 8. Monetary conversations are an unquestionable necessity. It's not new seeing couples separating from a couple of months in the wake of getting hitched in light of the fact that they couldn't settle on funds. Cash themes are difficult to talk about, particularly when you're simply getting to know one another. Also, the manner in which you approach monetary administration in your marriage straightforwardly impacts your conjugal quality. Be that as it may, don't wrongly enter marriage prior to understanding how you'll share your funds. One of the advantages of getting hitched is the amazing chance to secure and share resources. Before you get hitched, plan how you will share your costs since you'll ultimately live respectively, and everybody should contribute their part. Conclude whether you're both going to work till retirement or whether one of you will wander into business or deal with the developing family. Assuming you plan well, you'll keep away from those contentions that might undermine your marriage. Number 9. Understand what your accomplice feels about kids. While everybody fantasies about getting hitched and growing a family, certain individuals might decide not to have children. Your accomplice can be one of them, and you won't be aware of it until you raise the subject. The discussion concerning kids beat the things couples ought to do prior to getting hitched. This point can turn into a grave worry from here on out. You should likewise not get hitched to your accomplice, figuring they will ultimately alter their perspective.